Hello to those in attendance in Arizona and everyone else tuning in here. I'm delighted and honored to be here with Alex Chuddy from Paycor. Alex, thank you for hosting this session with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, Adam. Excited to be here.
So Paycor and CHEQ have been going on partners now for 5 years, fighting bots and bad actors from infiltrating their digital efforts. However, Alex does a whole lot more than fight the fake web with us. So before we dive in, Alex, could you tell us a bit more about what you're focused on at Paycor?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, as you can see on the slide, I'm the Senior Director of Demand Generation at Paycor. So that's a lot of words there. Really what I'm focused on is driving qualified leads, pipeline, and revenue for our sales team. So I've got a team of 10 that report into me. So I cover across digital marketing, which is everything from SEO to website to paid advertising, top of funnel, bottom of funnel, all the things there, as well as a field marketing team that supports over 500 sellers and a lot of ABM that we're getting into, and then just kind of general prospect corporate marketing, all national thematic and integrated campaigns. So been at Paycor for over 8 years now. Started out as a team of one in digital and have since really grown my empire and have a lot of fun doing it too.
Great. Thank you, Alex. So as you can see here, CHEQ and Paycor have been partners since 2019, and we've initially focused on protecting the paid acquisition. And Alex filled you in a little bit more about Paycor's team and how that has grown over his years with them. So for today's session, we're going to be talking through a couple different topics. The session today is actually called "The Future of Marketing Efficiency: An Honest Approach to Optimizing Your Funnel." So my friends at CHEQ here call me Honest Adam, so I think I'm the right moderator for the job, but Alex actually executing and leading demand generation at a great company. We really do want to hear from you. So let's start at the top here. What have you identified as the low-hanging fruit for optimizing a funnel in a digital-driven world?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to start with understanding your funnel, right? So it starts at your data itself. And when I'm talking data, I think, lowest hanging fruit, looking at your own website, right? So everyone's got Google Analytics, you might have Adobe Analytics, something, right? Start there from a web analytics perspective. And then from there, you need to really focus on CRM. So for us, we use Salesforce, and then marketing automation, we use Marketo. But really, before you're even digging into CRM Marketo stuff, again, I would start with your website. So that is your number one demand generation vehicle and driver is your website itself. And hopefully you've got traffic coming to it today, but do you understand that traffic? So for example, if you're digging deep into Google Analytics and hey, GA4 is here, hopefully you guys are transitioning over to GA4, cry face. But looking really in GA, do you have all of your conversion goals and events set up? So basic level, are you tracking the right things? Make sure you're not double counting, look in Tag Manager, whatever you're using, make sure you've got the right events to really track the behavior on your website and that you're measuring the proper conversions that matter to your business. And then from there, I think it's really drilling down into a few different types of reports and looking at, especially again, low hanging fruit. It's, hey, what are pages that are driving, say, a ton of traffic, but the conversion rate is lower? Okay, you don't even have to drive traffic to those pages, any additional traffic, but you need to look at that user experience. How can you look at that page from the end of your user and to say, okay, where's friction in this journey? Are we recommending some additional CTAs in line and with visual call outs, or do you have to scroll all the way to the bottom to click on a link and it's talk to sales way too far down funnel? How do you continue to give them that bingeable content journey? And then on the other side, hey, if you do have some pages on your website that are high converting, but you're not getting enough traffic there, okay, what can you do from an SEO standpoint, on page perspective? What can you do to drive additional internal links to that page? How can you leverage email programs and nurtures to drive traffic to that high converting content? And how do your sellers use that as part of their follow up as well too? That's kind of the really the big focus that I say start there. Doesn't cost any money to do it. You don't need to ask for more budget. Look at how you can make your website more efficient and to drive better leads. Then part two, that's really where you're going to flip to look at CRM, marketing automation, etc. And so that's really where marketing attribution is key. So in my journey 8+ years ago, I didn't have millions of dollars of budget to spend. It was relatively light for even a company of Paycor size 8 years ago. I had to focus on that website, but then I had to focus on analytics and attribution. So at Paycor, we use Visible, which is now owned by Marketo and Adobe. But that was really something I brought in to really be a foundation for that marketing attribution. So there's other tools that are out there. Don't necessarily have a preference or tell you who to use, but having something that you can be confident in to know what are your top channels and not just for leads, but how do you pull that through the funnel? So do you have MQLs and lead scoring? Not every lead is created equal. Do you treat them as equal as you're defining what to be followed up with and when? Can you actually measure that channel attribution through to opportunities and pipeline and close one revenue? So something I'll talk about today is really that evolution of a marketer to go from, that arts and crafts marketing department to, oh, you guys make shiny PowerPoints and cool, you got charts going up that says impressions are higher and traffic's higher. But what are you actually doing for the business? So what I'm excited to talk with Adam today is really how to make sure that you all are revenue marketers and know how to really go on that journey to get there. And so I think lastly, once you have that attribution in place, really defining ROI and having different KPIs for your different media in different areas of the funnel so that you can start to optimize and really shift your media dollars and budgets within that funnel and within vendors in that funnel itself too. So if you have a top of funnel lead gen program, say content syndication or other pay per lead providers, you'll know that, hey, for this particular channel, I need to keep my cost per lead within a certain dollar range because it's top of funnel. They're not going to be converting at the same rate as a lower funnel lead will. But then that mid funnel, say it's an online directory, something in the Gartner Experience Network of recommending other software tools to use, you can probably have a higher cost per lead there because that level of intent is higher. So that conversion to opportunity is higher. But you don't want to go off gut feel. You need to have the data infrastructure and reporting to back it up. And then ultimately as a marketer, if you can tell your CFO, hey, you give me $1, I'm giving you $10 in return, that's how you're going to grow your team, your budget, and your influence, and ultimately your career.
Mm-hmm. So a couple, really good points there. Thank you, Alex. I think as far as talking about efficiency, taking the web traffic you already have and working to lead that to more conversions, right? I think is a really interesting point. So you talked about optimizing for a better user experience, identifying when there are pages with a lot of traffic that might not be converting at as high a rate, and the opposite route as well. So as far as like optimizing for a better user experience, you talked about some things like moving the call to action on page. Are there any specific examples or times where you guys have made a change at Paycor or that you've seen drive some really good results?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, definitely A/B testing is critical. We used to use Google Optimize. We've since brought in a tool called Mutiny to help with some of that. But there's other things that are out there to do some A/B testing as well. So I think definitely for sure, even just changing what side of the form. So going from right form to left side form, simple tests like that, not changing any copy, that can actually provide a pretty strong lift. But everyone needs to test it for your own buyers and your own users just because it works for me and for Paycor doesn't mean it will for you. Another thing I would say is make sure you're leveraging the full resources within some of these ad platforms that you're using. So, for example, one thing that we've shifted to within our paid social advertising, we've got one budget that's more brand awareness. And again, we've got different KPIs for that, where we're looking at reach and we are looking at impressions and site traffic and time on page and engagement. But then more of our demand gen lead acquisition spend for that, that's really where we shifted from a URL driven click out to a Marketo landing page, where we were actually using the lead gen forms that these platforms now have natively in the tool. So using things like that, where, hey, it's going to reduce friction on your user to say, hey, they're going to be continued and contained within that wall of, say, a LinkedIn or a Facebook. And we've actually found that our conversion rates went up. So our cost per lead went down, and we were able to directly connect that into our CRM and marketing automation so that we can feed more of the details and the context about what the user did, what they downloaded it, with tips to our sales team on how to properly follow up. And that ties into our whole nurture infrastructure of email, where we want to continue to feed you content similar topically to what you came in net new and downloaded on. We want to get you to continue to come back, get some more content, and then that will start to warm your lead score up to become more of that marketing qualified lead that we're saying, hey, now seller, go get them.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Alex. So let's break up the status quo a little bit here. We talked about some of the lower hanging fruit, but what are some of the overlooked ways to maximize efficiency, do you think, and why do you think some of these strategies and some of the pieces you've already hit on here might be overlooked today within teams?
Yeah, for sure. I think one key thing is if you're only relying on those front end metrics that the platforms are giving you, and you're not looking at that pull through. So if you're only looking at, hey, our cost per lead in Google Ads went down, but you're not also taking the steps to understand what is the quality of those leads, are they converting to opportunity at a higher rate? Because much of these platforms themselves, you're going to give them generally kind of a goal for that campaign, that program, and they're going to try to convert as many leads through that campaign as possible. But unless you have some other signals you're feeding these platforms, it's going to keep giving you potential junk leads that you may think on paper looks like our leads are going up. And now you're going to sales team saying, hey, we generated 400 more leads for you. What are you guys doing? That's where you need to make sure that you're taking ownership through that funnel, and that you're not just relying on that front end metric, that you're also looking at those full funnel KPIs for not just cost per lead, but cost per new opportunity. Instead of cost per lead, cost per workable lead, or the quality lead, right? So that's really where you've got to focus on not just, hey, top line lead generation, but are you generating the right leads for your business? And how do you tie that to business results that matter to your C suite? And so that you're not just spending money to spend money, that you're actually tying that money to recurring revenue for your team. So I think that's a key piece to look at. I touched on kind of making sure those conversions are all tracked in Google, et cetera. I think the importance of having the first party data signals, pushing that out to as many platforms as you can, doing exclusion lists as well, to making sure that you understand what is an acceptable lead and what isn't, and how do you exclude, say, past customers you've already acquired, or if there's certain things that aren't in your ICP, how do you kind of take those out of the bidding algorithms, or even exclusion if you're doing pay per lead programs, exclude some of these leads that you don't want, or again, customers you've acquired before, don't pay to have them come back, right? So again, the big thing is, if you think that your job is over when you generate that lead, and you're not thinking about how to really optimize that lead through the funnel and how to arm your sellers to have more productive conversations, you're failing as a marketer, and you won't get the growth that you want.
hmm I think that's a really important point too. We talked about a lot of different strategies that you've deployed here. Like when you're looking at, let's say, for example, you talked about your social campaigns and how you split them between top of funnel awareness, and then you have some of these lead gen forms, and how you've even, kind of worked to try out some of the new features inside of those platforms. But once you get after that stage, even like beyond a form or beyond when that conversation starts coming in, I think the partnership with the sales team is something that I think about a lot just because of my day to day and my work here at CHEQ. So understanding, especially at Paycor, the volume and the size of the team, not only within your marketing department, but also those who handle the leads and talk to customers front facing. How do you guys stay aligned between those two teams?
Yeah, I think sales and marketing alignment is that that gold phrase we all want, we all try to live and breathe. I think Paycor. I think we do it pretty well, and I think it does start at the top. So we've got an SVP of marketing that reports into the chief revenue officer, and so that chief revenue officer oversees all of sales, marketing, rev ops, etc. And when we do fiscal year planning and goal setting, we actually, as a marketing org, we sign up for a percentage of bookings, or think of it as annual revenue, that we say, hey, is going to be sourced from marketing. And so we measure that, and we've got monthly marketing new opportunity goals, as well as bookings goals or revenues that is a percent of the sales goal. And we go even further to say, hey, here's the makeup of that, where we expect X percent in a dollar amount coming from these A, B, C MQLs. So we're prioritizing these MQLs now based on lead scoring. And I've actually got a monthly goal for each of those types of MQLs, where I'm tracking not just the lead quality, lead quantity count, but also the lead quality, where there's this expected workable percent of those leads that I'm expected to deliver. And there's a new opportunity count, as well as the bookings. And then we've got that on a channel level as well. So how much do we expect to come from, say, paid search versus organic search versus email? So having all those metrics, being data driven, and then really owning it with your sales team and being able to show them through dashboards, through reporting, through monthly readouts, here is where your bookings and your revenue is coming from, and here's what marketing's doing for you. Now you don't seem like, oh, someone that's just creating those shiny PowerPoints in the background. Like, you are actually driving the business and helping drive revenue for the sales team. So I think you don't get there overnight, but I think if you can be more metric and data oriented, improve your impact, and to kind of force yourself into those conversations, that will go a very long way. And then the piece that I didn't touch on that I think is critically important is, once you establish those, having that feedback loop is important. So I've got probably every other week I'm meeting with a sales leader and sales team that are taking many of these inbound leads. And so while we do have a way for them to disposition leads via statuses, dispositions on the records, we also have that more qualitative conversation where we'll say, hey, here's a new program that we're adding in. Here's a new launch that we have. Here's a new vendor for pay-per leads that we're bringing on. Here's what it's going to look like when the lead comes through. So screenshot, here's what it looks like. Here's what it's going to say. Here's the context. Now maybe here's an actual sales engagement, script that's go along with that. So think like an outreach sequence, etc. Here's the context behind that. Here's some other related content that you may want to show and share with your prospect that's related to what they're consuming. And then for us, it's again being concerned not just with our number of the leads that we're sending, but what's happening with them. And when we see, hey, we're not hitting that new opportunity conversion number, taking a deeper look to find out, are there certain company sizes or industries or segments that we're seeing good results versus bad? Asking the sales team, how are these? How is this going? What feedback do you have? So really making sure that you're locking arms with your sales team, and you're not in that, hey, not my problem, that's for them to figure out, and you're just throwing leads over the wall. It's really got to be a partnership, and you show it in your actions, in your questions, and in how you really try to get the feedback from the sellers and be genuine when they give it to you.
So that also plays in having proper tracking, not only with some of those initial metrics, but also having proper tracking with the lead scoring,
Mm-hmm.
with the lead attribution, and then having those important conversations with the team to plan across, talking to this type of person should have this narrative. If they've
Mm-hmm.
experienced Paycor in this way, let's maybe change what we're focusing on in these conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been at Paycor for over 8 years, and you mentioned
Yeah.
it. Now you have a full team and you have a lot of these processes built out. But I'm sure that wasn't, always the case, especially in the early days. So I'd love to hear a bit about the evolution of the team, but also how the team's perspective of marketing efficiency has changed in the last 8, 9 years.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think, early on in our evolution, when I came in, there was not a strong inbound motion. It was a lot of outbound, a lot of email, a lot of, sales enablement support, but didn't really have that inbound growth engine.
Mhm.
And so, really, by being able to put a lot of that in place, again, starting with that low hanging fruit, optimizing the web experience, focused on inbound and SEO growth, et cetera, of really how do we drive that funnel and not just purchasing lists, et cetera, get meaningful engagement and get net new people in the database. That's really where we started. And so early on, it was, oh, wow, look at these net new leads we've added to the database. Look at the lead growth that we're doing here. But really, where it's evolved is, again, now we've got not just goals for traffic and lead conversions, but it's, hey, what are those MQLs and what is that the growth of those MQLs by A, B, C. So the A's are the hottest of the hot, the B's kind of mid funnel, and C's is a little bit more top of funnel, but a lot of engagement, the right type of ICP fit, but maybe not as high intent or a hand raiser like that A. So we've really gone deep in terms of, how we expect our leads to come over and how we're really prioritizing those leads based on the scoring. And then within that kind of lead quality, again, not just the raw volume of those MQLs, but we've got based on those statuses, what is the workable count? And as we see our workable rate decrease, that's really when we dig in to say, okay, is there a certain vendor or lead source that we're seeing these come from, asking feedback from the reps, making sure there's not a seller education thing that we need to double click and lean on. But then from there, really making sure that, again, we're looking at not just that lead top end, but how is that actually driving the ultimate ROI and how do we actually optimize our media mix for that. And so I think that's really where for us, we do have the different KPIs for our top of funnel, middle funnel, and bottom funnel. And we can look at, hey, are we over indexed in one area or not? So I think really being focused on that ROI or ROAS, return on ad spend, and making sure that, hey, as that media budget has grown, that we're being as efficient as possible, but not just from a cost per lead, from an actual cost of new customer acquisition, that CAC. How are we continuing to do more with less as marketers? We know it's tough to get new budget. You've got to really squeeze that rag as much as you can to get the most juice out of it. And I think, yeah, there's a lot that you can do to really dig into that, to understand your funnel and to figure out where in your funnel are you seeing some funnel leakage and breakdown? Where are the areas that aren't as efficient as they need to be? And then how do you put an action plan in place to really tackle that and to find out, hey, where can we get more efficient, or do we need to cut our losses in some areas and lean in somewhere else? So I think ultimately, as marketers, yes, we've got that creative side to us, but more than ever, we've got to really be data focused, data driven, and show and prove that revenue impact that you have.
So efficiency in general, I mean, you guys have there's been greater opportunity since you joined the team because of, just the size and the growth, but also like the tools and the things that have been made available to the team and the way
Mm-hmm.
you guys have learned and been able to track and change processes over that period of time. So, talking about, some of the new tools and the things that have been made available to you guys and as far as managing your funnel, I did want to talk about like actually securing the funnel. So what does that term securing the funnel mean to you, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the highest level, in my opinion, I think it's comes down to ensuring that you're paying for or generating or driving to your sales team actual real leads and prospects, where I'm saying not junk, and also, hey, prospects that are that right fit, and making sure that what you're reporting on is actually accurate, and that you're not just showing inflated numbers, and that you actually know it's real and feel confident that, yes, if I'm seeing that chart go up and to the right, I feel confident that that leading indicator metric should result in the ultimate down funnel KPI I want, which is more new opportunities, higher deal size, and ultimate bookings growth for that company. And so, yeah, I mean, we definitely, through our CHEQ partnership, have used you all quite a bit to help secure, especially from that funnel where our paid media comes into play. And so we've definitely invested over those 8 years a lot within paid search. So across Google and Microsoft, We've grown a lot within the paid social media space, so LinkedIn and Facebook Meta being the top two within there. And so in our space, very competitive, HCM software, HR software, very broad category. A lot of people kind of up market, down market, and in the middle. People that
Mhm.
are up market coming down, people that are small market coming up, and we're kind of sitting in the middle there. And so we've seen, auction cost per clicks, cost per lead increase more than 20% year over year on a lot of this. And so, unless you're getting a 20+% budget growth in some of those same channels, your net lead growth is going to be flat because the cost went up by 20%. And if your budget went up by 20% or less, that means you're getting less leads. So, that importance of efficiency, especially if you have a very competitive marketplace that you're competing in, is more critical than ever. And so for us, CHEQ really helps play that role to make sure within those paid media areas, especially the paid search space, which, one click could be $20+ on certain keywords. It's more critical than ever to make sure those clicks that I'm paying for actually are going to real people and that we can actually funnel that invalid clicks that we've been able to remove from CHEQ to funnel that to the real people. So while it may look like, hey, budget growth didn't grow a ton, well, the actual budget that we can use against real users and real prospects technically went up because we can get rid of more of that junk there. And then lastly, I would say, that security space, especially, my software company, Paycor, we are a payroll company at our foundation. So we deal with a lot of PII and literal financial data of our customers and their thousands of employees that they have. So I'm sure you've all seen in the news different data breaches that happen, right? Maybe you've gotten a letter in the mail from someone, right? If we have that happen in our business, that is very detrimental. So just the importance of securing our customer data and leveraging a tool such as CHEQ to make sure that these bad actors aren't using some of these entry points to then tie into our other systems that may have integrations. That's a key piece to make sure that we can sleep at night knowing that, hey, we're keeping our customer data secure no matter where they're trying to potentially tap in and hit it if they're a bad actor. And then making sure that, hey, we take care of our clients and that they know that we're doing everything in our power to make sure that they are secure in their data. And so, yes, not just from an efficiency and improving on return on ad spend, but again, that peace of mind and making sure that we're doing best from our customers. That's really how I think about that, securing the funnel and different areas of the funnel that plays a role, and really where CHEQ helps us quite a bit over these last few years.
Yeah, that's great to hear, Alex. I'm sure, as you can imagine, this is a conversation that I get into often with our partners. And what I've come to realize is there's so many different components and different tools that a go-to-market team will use to manage their funnel. And fake traffic impacts them all a little bit differently, but there are a few core themes, and you kind of hit on all of them right there. So the way I always try to break it down is the first and most straightforward one really is that performance in paid media, and that's what we've been partnered on for such a long period of time. Is like it's annoying when a bot or fake user hits your website, but it becomes more frustrating when you paid money to acquire that visit. So you do want to minimize the impact there. And we've talked about data and proper tracking a lot. And I always think about this as like skew data, but also missing data. So
Mhm.
if you think about, like a skewed data, when a bot hits a website, they're triggering events. That could be a website analytics report, like a Google Analytics and the tracking you've set up there. Maybe a CDP or what you've gathered for anonymous and non-anonymous users. Chatbots, countless other things are thrown out of balance. So when they're taking actions on site, this becomes a little bit more serious. Uh, if you're thinking about an attack on like a demo or a trial form, and that has serious implications on CRM data and sales pipelines
Mhm.
as well. Um, so, knowing that we're coming up a little bit on time, I do want to leave with some general tips. What are some final tips that you'd share with the rest of the leaders in the room to unlock this next level of efficiency, Alex?
Yeah, one that I think we're just starting to crack, just the tip of that iceberg on is AI. So I do think that it wouldn't be a conference if we didn't mention AI, right? But I do think, in all seriousness, that is going to be a key for unlocking what's next for marketers. And so if you think about it, anything from even the production of assets, right? So how are you leveraging AI from a generative AI perspective to assist with some of that first draft from a copy perspective, or image creation, inspiration, image touch up, right? And then I think leveraging AI to speed up that speed to testing, that speed to market, the speed to create new iterations, the speed to get insights faster, right? So not only could you put things out in the market quicker, but if you can identify with AI and other tools of who's the best segment to target this message, that holy grail of right person at the right time with the right message. That's, I think, what a lot of AI is getting marketers closer to do. But then, I think with that personalization side of it, I think it'll be an interesting, future that we're looking at with things like cookieless future, where there's going to be a battle between personalization and privacy, and how can us as marketers continue to do more personalization while at the same time knowing that macro things are in play to increase privacy protection for consumers. So I think making sure that you as a marketer are up to speed on all that and understand how you can leverage AI, understand the importance of your data foundation, the first party data that you have, and being able to activate on that and action against it. I think those are two things that are going to be critical as we look at this convergence of more and more ways to personalize, but eventually going to be less data to do that from a third party side with privacy. And how do you as a marketer really navigate that to still find success and to still reach your target buyers the way you expect?
Okay. I think that's a perfect way to wrap up, Alex. Thank you so much. While we've continued to work together for years protecting Paycor's acquisition budget, we're excited to see what the future holds, exploring how we can help further with data integrity and the rest of the funnel. So, thank you again, Alex. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's been fun.
Thank you for watching. Click the agenda link at the top of your screen to choose your next session.